Admiral James Stone stood at the window of the United Earth Defense Force headquarters, his weathered face reflecting in the reinforced glass. The morning had started like any other until the massive ships appeared, their dark shapes blocking out the sun over every major city on Earth. He watched as the alien vessels hung in the sky like metal mountains. Each ship was larger than any human-made structure, their surfaces gleaming with an otherworldly purple sheen. The largest one, positioned above New York, cast a shadow that stretched for miles. "Admiral," called out Lieutenant Rogers from his communication station. "We're receiving a transmission. It's being broadcast on all frequencies, sir." Stone turned away from the window, his boots clicking against the polished floor as he walked to the central command table. "Put it through," he ordered, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a creature that looked almost human, but not quite. Its skin was pale gray, its eyes too large, its fingers too long. When it spoke, its voice echoed with an artificial harmony that made it clear the transmission was being translated. "People of Earth," the alien began, "I speak on behalf of the Galactic Command, the governing body of civilized space. Your planet has been monitored for the past century, and we have determined that your civilization has reached the appropriate stage for integration." Stone's fists clenched at his sides. They had been watching Earth for 100 years, studying them like insects in a jar. The alien continued, "You are hereby ordered to surrender all military assets and governmental control to the collective. Resistance is not advised. You have 48 hours to comply, or we will begin the cleansing process." The transmission cut off, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Stone looked around at his officers, seeing the fear in their eyes, but also something else. Determination. "Get me the World Council," Stone commanded, "and activate Protocol 7. Within hours, the planet erupted into chaos. News of the ultimatum spread across social media faster than any government could control it. People flooded the streets, some in panic, others in protest, and many more in prayer. In the underground bunker beneath Geneva, Stone sat at a round table with the World Council. The room was designed to withstand a nuclear blast, but now they wondered if even these walls could protect them from what waited in orbit. "We've been preparing for this," Stone announced to the gathered leaders. "Ever since we found those devices on Mars 10 years ago, we knew this day would come." President Garcia of the American Union leaned forward. "Are you saying we have a chance against those ships?" Stone nodded slowly. "We've had a decade to prepare. While they watched us, thinking we were blind to their presence, we were watching them back. Learning. Adapting." He pressed a button on the table, and a hologram appeared showing a network of hidden facilities across the globe. "We're not as helpless as they think we are. But if we fight," the Chinese premier interrupted, "millions could die. And if we surrender," Stone countered, "billions will live as slaves, and Earth will become just another conquered world in their empire." The room fell silent as the weight of the decision pressed down on them. Outside, the alien ships continued their ominous hover, waiting for humanity's response. Finally, after hours of debate, the vote was unanimous. Earth would not surrender. As Stone left the bunker, he received a message from Dr. Emma Reynolds at Project Phoenix. The text was simple: "Fire protocol is ready." He looked up at the night sky, where the alien ships blotted out the stars. They thought they were coming to collect another easy conquest, another primitive world to add to their collection. Instead, they were about to learn why humans had survived every disaster, every war, every challenge they had ever faced. Humanity was about to fight back. With fire. 10 years earlier, on the red surface of Mars, Dr. Emma Reynolds had made the discovery that changed everything. She remembered that day clearly as she walked through the underground facility of Project Phoenix, her footsteps echoing off steel walls. The alien monitoring device she had found hidden in Martian rocks had been small, no larger than a coffee cup. But its technology had opened humanity's eyes to the truth. They were being watched, studied, and judged by beings from beyond the stars. Now, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, she approached the central chamber of humanity's greatest secret. The massive door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a sight that still took her breath away. Dr. Reynolds called out one of her technicians. The fire protocol is reaching final charge capacity. She nodded, looking up at the enormous machinery that filled the chamber. Towers of crystalline structures pulsed with captured solar energy, each one connected to a network that spread across the entire planet. What the aliens above didn't know was that every solar farm, every solar panel they had observed being built over the past decade, was part of something much bigger. Her phone buzzed. Admiral Stone was calling. "Emma." His voice was tense. "Please tell me you have good news." "The fire protocol is ready," she replied, watching as engineers made final adjustments to the plasma containment fields. "But James, you need to understand the risks. We've never tested it at full capacity." "We don't have a choice anymore," Stone responded. "I'm heading to the World Council meeting now. They need to know exactly what we're capable of." Reynolds walked to her main control station, bringing up the global network display. Hundreds of dots lit up the screen, each representing a hidden collector facility. The system was designed to harness and weaponize solar plasma, she explained. "We can literally throw pieces of the sun at them." "Will it work against their shields?" She smiled grimly. "Their monitoring device used the same shielding technology as their ships. We've spent 10 years learning how to break it." The call ended, and Reynolds turned to her team. They had been chosen from every nation, the brightest minds humanity had to offer, all working in secret to prepare for this day. "Begin final preparations," she ordered. "Sync all collectors to the primary grid." Across the globe, similar facilities hummed to life. Beneath the Sahara Desert, deep under the Australian outback, hidden in the Amazon rainforest, humanity's secret weapon was awakening. In the command center, Reynolds watched as the energy readings climbed. The aliens had missed something fundamental about humans in their century of observation. They had mistaken humanity's rapid adoption of solar power as a sign of primitive energy needs. They hadn't realized they were watching the construction of the largest weapon system ever built. Her screen flashed with an incoming message from the lunar base. Major West had completed the deployment of the orbital relay stations. They were disguised as simple communication satellites, but they would soon reveal their true purpose. Dr. Reynolds called out her second-in-command. "The World Council is ready for your briefing." She straightened her lab coat and headed to the communication room. On the screens, she could see the faces of Earth's leaders, all waiting to hear if their decade of preparation would be enough. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, "what I'm about to show you is humanity's best hope for survival. We call it the Fire Protocol, and it's going to remind these aliens why they should have never threatened Earth." Above, the collected ships continued their ominous watch, unaware that beneath their feet, humanity was preparing to unleash the power of a star against them. They had come expecting to find a primitive civilization ready for harvest. Instead, they were about to face a species that had turned their own sun into a weapon. The countdown to humanity's counterattack had begun. Time was running out. The massive display in Earth's Defense Command showed a countdown. 6 hours remained until the collective's deadline. Admiral Stone watched as reports came in from around the world. On every continent, in every major city, humans were putting on an elaborate show of surrender preparations. Giant white flags were raised in city centers. Military vehicles were being parked in neat rows. Warships were returning to port. It was all a lie. "Admiral," Lieutenant Rogers called out, "the collected ships are moving into attack formation." Stone nodded. Everything was going according to plan. The aliens had taken the bait, positioning their ships exactly where Earth needed them. In her underground facility, Dr. Reynolds watched the energy readings climb higher than ever before. The fire protocol was ready, its power barely contained within the crystalline storage arrays. She opened a secure channel to the command center. "James, we're at maximum charge. All facilities report ready." Stone's voice crackled back. Good. Major West reports the lunar base is in position. Wait for my signal. Above the Earth, the collected ships moved with confident precision. Their massive vessels formed a perfect circle around the planet, preparing to begin their cleansing process if humanity's surrender wasn't complete. Inside the lead ship, the collective's commander watched Earth's apparent submission with satisfaction. These primitives were behaving just as their studies had predicted. Soon, this world would join the thousands of others under their control. Sir, one of his officers reported, we're detecting unusual energy readings from the surface. Probably their primitive power plants shutting down. The commander dismissed. Prepare for the integration process. But he was wrong. Very wrong. Back on Earth, Stone stood at his command table, watching the enemy ships settle into their final positions. He took a deep breath and pressed his communication button. All stations, execute fire protocol. Authorization code, Phoenix Rising. Across the planet, hidden facilities sprang to life. The fake solar farms suddenly transformed, their panels shifting and combining into massive focusing arrays. In orbit, the disguised satellites revealed their true purpose, deploying mirror systems that could redirect enormous amounts of energy. Dr. Reynolds typed in her activation code, her hand steady despite the weight of the moment. Initiating primary sequence. May God have mercy on them, because the sun won't. The first blast caught the collective completely by surprise. A beam of concentrated solar plasma, hot enough to match the surface of the sun itself, shot up from the Sahara facility. It struck one of the alien ships, cutting through its shields like they weren't even there. The massive vessel split in half, its crew having no time to even send a distress signal. Direct hit. Major West's voice came through from the lunar base. Their shields are useless against the plasma. More beams shot up from Earth. The Amazon facility, the Australian outback, the Siberian tundra. Each one targeted a different ship. The night sky lit up brighter than day as humanity fought back with the power of its own star. The collective's commander watched in horror as his perfect formation fell apart. Impossible, he shouted. They're primitives. They can't have this technology. But humanity did have it. And they were just getting started. Stone allowed himself a small smile as he watched the enemy fleet scatter in panic. Launch our defense fleet, he ordered. Show them what else we've been hiding. From hidden bases around the world, ships rose into the sky. They weren't the primitive rockets the aliens had observed. These were hybrid vessels, combining human innovation with stolen alien technology. The collective had made a fatal mistake. They had judged humanity by its appearance, never suspecting that beneath the seemingly primitive exterior lay a weapon that could harness the power of a star. As the battle raged in orbit, one thing became clear. The hunters had become the hunted, and humanity was done playing weak. Major Thomas West stood at the command center of Lunar Base Alpha, watching the battle unfold through the reinforced windows. Earth's hybrid ships moved with deadly grace, their hulls glowing with the same purple sheen as the alien vessels. 10 years of reverse engineering had paid off. All squadrons, form up on your leaders, he ordered through the command network. Remember your training. These aliens might have been in space longer, but we've spent a decade learning their weaknesses. The space around Earth had become a battlefield unlike anything in human history. Beams of solar plasma shot up from the planet's surface, while the hybrid fleet engaged the surviving collective ships in close combat. Captain Robert Hayes piloted the lead hybrid ship, the Thunderchild, through the chaos. His crew had trained for years in simulators built from stolen alien data, but this was their first real combat. The ship's engines hummed with a mixture of human and alien technology as they closed in on their target. Enemy vessel at 2 o'clock, his sensor officer called out. They're charging weapons. Hayes smiled grimly. Activate the mirror shields. The collective ship fired, its energy beam racing toward the Thunderchild. But instead of hitting shields or armor, the beam reflected off the ship's crystalline surface, shooting back at its source. The alien vessel took the full force of its own weapon. Back at Earth Defense Command, Admiral Stone coordinated the global defense. "Dr. Reynolds, how are the fire protocol systems holding up?" "The collectors are at 70% and recharging," she replied, her voice tense but confident. "We can fire another full salvo in 15 minutes." The collective ships were in disarray. Their perfect formation had been shattered, and their remaining vessels were trying to regroup. But humanity had planned for this moment too well. From the far side of the moon, a second wave of hybrid ships appeared. Major West had kept them hidden, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Now they swept in, catching the aliens between two forces. "Look at them run," someone shouted as several collective ships broke formation and fled toward the outer solar system. But the alien commander wasn't done yet. His flagship, twice the size of any other vessel, moved into position above the North Atlantic. Its weapon ports began to glow with an ominous red light. "They're preparing a mass driver," West warned. "They're going to try to hit the surface." Hayes turned the Thunder Child toward the threat. "All ships, converge on the flagship. Don't let them target Earth." The hybrid fleet responded instantly, their training showing in their coordinated attack. Plasma beams from Earth joined the assault, creating a web of deadly energy around the massive alien ship. In orbit, the battle had turned into a testament to human adaptability. The aliens had superior numbers, but Earth's forces had surprise and innovation on their side. The hybrid ships moved in ways the collective had never seen, combining alien technology with human combat tactics. "Sir," Lieutenant Rogers called to Stone, "we're picking up transmissions between their ships. They're arguing." Stone leaned forward, interested. "Put it through." The translated alien voices filled the command center. "We were told they were primitives. This is impossible. We must retreat and regroup. No, we must continue the attack." The collective's carefully maintained order was crumbling in the face of humanity's unexpected resistance. Their entire strategy had been based on attacking a helpless planet. Instead, they had found themselves in a fight for survival. Major West watched from the lunar base as another alien ship exploded, torn apart by a combination of plasma fire and hybrid ship attacks. "Send word to all commands," he ordered. "Push the advantage. Don't let them regroup." The stars above Earth had become a battlefield, but humanity was proving what it did best: adapting, surviving, and fighting back against impossible odds. The collective was about to learn that underestimating humans was the last mistake they would ever make. Dr. Emma Reynolds stared at her screen in disbelief. The data streaming in from the captured alien ship was worse than anyone had imagined. Behind her, Admiral Stone and Major West watched in silence as she decoded more of the collective's database. "They're not just conquerors," she said, her voice shaking. "They're harvested. Everything they have, they've stolen from other worlds." The room they stood in was deep within the Thunder Child, the ship's systems humming quietly around them. Captain Hayes had managed to capture one of the smaller collective vessels mostly intact, and its computers were telling a horrible story. "Show me," Stone ordered, his face grim. Reynolds brought up a galactic map. Thousands of dots lit up, each representing a conquered world. "The collective has been doing this for over 10,000 years. They find developing civilizations, wait until they reach a certain technological level, then attack when the planet seems vulnerable." "But why?" West asked, leaning closer to study the display. "Resources," Reynolds explained, "not just physical ones. They steal technology, knowledge, even cultural information. Then they strip the planet bare and move on to the next target." Stone's fists clenched. "How many worlds?" "Over 3,000 conquered planets." But that's not the worst part. Reynolds typed in a new command, and a different set of data appeared. "Look at their ship designs. Every piece of technology they use was stolen from someone else. They never developed anything on their own." West pointed to a familiar shape on the screen. "Those are their shield generators. They looked just like. Yes, Reynolds nodded. They were stolen from a civilization called the Architects, 5,000 years ago. The same civilization that built those monitoring devices we found on Mars. The implications hit them all at once. The collective wasn't some advanced alien empire. They were parasites, surviving only by taking from others. There's more, Reynolds continued, her fingers flying over the keyboard. Their ships have a critical weakness. The power systems were stolen from one civilization, the shields from another, the weapons from a third. They never truly understood how to integrate them properly. Stone leaned forward. Can we use that? Yes. Their shield technology can't handle sudden power surges. That's why the fire protocol works so well against them. They never expected anyone to weaponize a star. In orbit, the battle had reached a stalemate. The remaining collective ships had pulled back to a defensive position, clearly unsure how to proceed against an enemy that had shattered their expectations. Look at this, West said, pointing to another section of data. They're in chaos. The different factions in their fleet are arguing over what to do. Some want to retreat and bring back a larger force. Others are afraid of looking weak in front of their superiors. Reynolds pulled up more information about the collective's internal structure. Their entire society is built on fear and dominance. Each commander is terrified of failure because they've seen what happens to those who disappoint their leaders. Then we hit them now, Stone decided, while they're disorganized. The doctor nodded, but her face was troubled. There's one more thing you need to see. She brought up a final set of data. They've already sent a distress signal. A much larger fleet is coming. The three humans looked at each other, the weight of this revelation heavy in the air. Earth had won its first battle for survival, but the real war was just beginning. How long do we have? Stone asked. 3 days, maybe 4. They'll arrive in force, expecting to find us weakened and afraid. Stone's expression hardened with determination. Then we'll just have to disappoint them. Major West, ready all forces. Dr. Reynolds, I need you to prepare the fire protocol for something bigger. Much bigger. They had learned the truth about their enemy. Now it was time to show the collective that humanity wasn't just another race to be harvested. They were the ones who would bring the parasitic empire crashing down. The massive collective reinforcement fleet arrived exactly as predicted, dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. 300 ships, each one larger than the vessels from the first attack, formed up for their assault on Earth. But the planet that waited for them was not the same one their comrades had faced. Admiral Stone stood in the new command center on the moon, watching the enemy fleet approach. Around him, the combined forces of humanity waited in perfect formation. Every hybrid ship, every weapons platform, every solar collector was ready. All stations report ready, Major West announced. Dr. Reynolds confirms the fire protocol is charged to maximum capacity. Stone nodded, his face illuminated by the tactical displays. Begin Operation Sunstorm. The plan was both simple and incredibly complex. During the past 3 days, humanity had moved most of its defensive operations to the moon, hidden from the enemy's long-range scans. The fire protocol had been modified. Its power increased beyond anything they had tried before. First wave, engage, Stone ordered. The Thunder Child, now upgraded with technology from the captured alien vessel, led the attack. Captain Hayes and his crew had trained constantly for this moment, pushing their hybrid ship to its limits. Multiple enemy contacts, Hayes reported. They're moving to surround us. The collective fleet's commander watched the approaching Earth ships with contempt. These primitives dare to challenge us again. All ships, destroy them. But something was wrong. The human vessels were moving too confidently, too purposefully. They were letting themselves be surrounded. In her control room, Dr. Reynolds monitored the energy readings. All around Earth, the solar collectors were drawing in more power than ever before. The sun itself seemed to pulse in response. Ready for primary ignition, she reported. All collectors at maximum capacity. Major West led his Special Forces team in their stealth ship, approaching the Collective's massive command vessel. Thanks to the captured alien data, they knew exactly where to strike. "Team in position," he whispered into his comm. "Ready to breach on your mark." Stone checked the tactical display one final time. The enemy fleet had fallen perfectly into position, forming a sphere around Earth's apparently retreating forces. "Now," he ordered. Reynolds activated the modified fire protocol. But this time, instead of individual beams, all the collectors fired at once. The energy merged in orbit, guided by the network of satellite mirrors, forming a massive sphere of solar plasma that encased the entire battlefield. The collective ships suddenly found themselves trapped inside a miniature sun. "Their shields are failing," Hayes reported with fierce satisfaction. "The power surge is too much for their stolen technology." Inside the enemy command ship, alarms blared as systems began to overload. The commander watched in horror as his mighty fleet began to burn. "Impossible," he screamed. "They're primitives. They can't have this level of technology." That's when Major West's team struck. Using the chaos as cover, they breached the command ship's hull and fought their way to its core. The alien crew, so used to easy victories, had never prepared for actual combat. West reached the main engine room, planting the special devices Dr. Reynolds had designed. "Charges set. All teams withdraw." The battle reached its peak as the artificial sun continued to burn around them. Earth's ships, protected by their properly integrated shields, moved through the plasma like sharks through water. The collective fleet, their mismatched stolen technology failing, began to break apart. Enemy ships attempting to retreat, Lieutenant Rogers reported. "Not this time," Stone said firmly. "Major West, detonate the charges." The devices exploded inside the collective command ship, but they didn't destroy it. Instead, they forced its power core into overdrive, creating a chain reaction that spread through the enemy fleet's linked command systems. One by one, the mighty ships of the collective armada began to shut down, their stolen technology turning against them. The artificial sun faded, revealing the results of humanity's trap. The greatest fleet of the collective hung powerless in space, dead in the water. Operation Sunstorm was a success. Humanity had not just defeated their enemy, they had broken them. 1 month after Operation Sunstorm, Admiral Stone stood at the window of the new International Space Station. Below him, Earth shone like a blue jewel. Above, the captured collective ships floated in neat rows, being studied and dismantled by human engineers. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Dr. Reynolds asked, floating up beside him. "Hard to believe it's only been a month since they demanded our surrender." Stone nodded, his reflection showing a slight smile. "The interrogations of the captured crew are complete. The collective's entire empire is falling apart." News had spread quickly through the galaxy after Earth's victory. The collective, feared for thousands of years, had been defeated by a primitive world they had thought would be an easy conquest. Their reputation for invincibility was shattered. "The other enslaved worlds are rising up," Reynolds said, checking her tablet. "Our broadcast of the battle footage showed them that the collective could be beaten." Major West reports that 17 systems have already declared independence. The Major himself was currently leading a fleet of hybrid ships, helping free other worlds and sharing Earth's defensive technology. The Thunderchild, under Captain Hayes, was escorting ships full of freed slaves back to their home planets. "The representatives from the liberated worlds will be arriving tomorrow," Stone reminded her. "Are we ready?" Reynolds nodded. "The new council chamber is prepared. It's strange to think that Earth is becoming the center of a new galactic alliance." In the month since the battle, everything had changed. The fire protocol, modified to work on smaller scales, had been shared with other freed worlds to help them defend themselves. Earth's hybrid ships now patrolled the trade routes once controlled by the collective, keeping the peace as new governments formed. "Did you see the latest data from the research team?" Reynolds asked, pulling up new information on her tablet. They've managed to properly integrate the collective's stolen technology. We're understanding it better than they ever did. Stone turned from the window to look at the detailed reports. The collective had never bothered to truly understand the technology they stole, using it like children playing with stolen toys. Humanity, with its drive to learn and improve, was already making improvements to designs that had remained unchanged for thousands of years. "Sir," Lieutenant Rogers called from the communication station, "we're receiving more requests for alliance from newly freed worlds. 3 more systems have overthrown their collective governors." "Tell them all are welcome," Stone replied, "as long as they agree to the basic principles: no slavery, no conquest, and full sharing of defensive technology." Through the window, they could see one of the solar collector stations adjusting its position. The fire protocol stations remained active, ready to defend Earth if needed, but they were being modified to serve peaceful purposes as well. Soon, they would help power a network of faster-than-light travel points throughout Allied space. "The collective taught us something important," Reynolds said thoughtfully. "They spent thousands of years taking from others, never creating anything new. That was their real weakness." Stone agreed. They forgot that true strength comes from building things, not just taking them. From working together, not just conquering. A flash of light caught their attention as a ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel nearby. It was one of the new hybrid designs, combining human innovation with properly understood alien technology. On its side was the symbol of the New Earth Defense Force, a phoenix rising from a sun. "Ready to meet our newest allies?" Stone asked, checking the time. Reynolds smiled. "Ready to help build something new." Together, they headed to the transit pod that would take them back to Earth. Below them, the planet that had faced extinction and emerged victorious continued its peaceful spin through space. Humanity had not only survived its first contact with hostile aliens, it had transformed the galaxy. The collective had demanded Earth's surrender, expecting to find another primitive world to conquer. Instead, they had awakened a force that would reshape the stars themselves. Humanity had fought back with fire, and in doing so, had lit a flame of freedom that would burn forever among the stars.